need a volume warning. Come on, man. Bring it on!
If you compare a mix from the 70s, 80s, or 90s to a modern mix, there's one thing you'll notice right away. The modern mix sounds louder, even if they're being played back at the exact same volume. For example, listen to this. Now compare it to this. Give me a break. All inside, it's so frustrating. And those are level matched. Have you ever wondered how that happened? Well, it's called the Loudness Wars, and in this video I'm going to explain exactly what it is and what drove it. Next, I'm going to examine streaming platforms and how they were supposed to fix it and why the Loudness War still rages on today. And finally, I'm going to give you some practical tips for how you can build a mix from the ground up to be loud, because if you want a truly loud master, it all starts with the mix. For those who don't know me, I'm Eyal Levi, CEO of URM Academy. I've been a producer and guitarist in my band Dust since 1999, and I've been playing way longer than that. You know, I once tried to give the finger to the Loudness Wars. It was for the self-titled Doth record. I went all in on full dynamic range. I was convinced that it would sound killer if you just turned it up. People hated it. Compared to everything else at the time, it just sounded weak. I regret it to this day. The lesson? I thought I was above the Loudness Wars, and I got crushed for it. And speaking of mastering, this video is brought to you by Nail the Mix. If you want to learn how to mix and master metal, Nail the Mix is the place to do it, straight from the best. Mixers like Will Putney, Buster Odeholm, Jens Bogren, Nolly, TLA, David Bendeth, and artists such as Gojira, Meshuggah, Periphery, Opeth, Nickelback, and over 100 more. At the start of the month, we released the raw multi-tracks from the session so you can download them straight into your DAW and mix the song from scratch. Getting your hands on this kind of source material is an incredible learning opportunity, just so you can see what the standard really is like at this level. Then, at the end of the month, the mixer does a live stream where they break down exactly how they mixed it on the record and answers your questions live. You can also join our monthly mixing competition. Submit your mix, vote for your favorites, and win prizes like microphones, guitars, plugins, gear, and a lot more cool stuff. And your membership comes packed with extras. All the URM plugins, MixLab with over 150 tutorials, Riff Hard for guitarists, and access to our private community on Discord and Facebook. So if you're serious about leveling up your mixes and learning from the very best, check out nailthemix.com today. It's at the link in the description of this video. So what even is or was the Loudness War? Well, it's an arms race that started in the 90s with a very simple goal: to make your song louder than everybody else's song. Here's a screen grab I got from Wikipedia about the Loudness Wars, and the very first sentence is the most important part. Competition for listeners between radio stations has contributed to a loudness war in radio broadcasting. It all started with a psychological trick. If you play two tracks back to back, the louder one is almost always going to sound better, clearer, punchier, more exciting, etc. That's because our ears don't hear all the frequencies the same way at different volumes. When things are quieter, you tend to hear the mid-range more, with the low end and high end kind of buried. Turn it up, and suddenly the lows and highs feel a lot more powerful. This is a psychoacoustic reality that producers and labels absolutely exploited. They knew it would grab the listener's attention within the first few seconds of a song coming on the radio or on a CD changer, and technology supercharged it. With vinyl and cassettes, you had physical limits. Push them too far and the needle skipped or the tape distorted. But when CDs came along, those barriers disappeared. Suddenly you had one simple digital ceiling called 0 dBFS. Think of it like filling a glass of water up to the brim, where if you add even one more little drop, it'll overflow. But as long as you stay up till that line, you're fine. That gave engineers a whole new sonic battlefield to work with. They used compressors and limiters to flatten the audio and then push it up right up to that limit. That's how we got those infinite brick waveforms. Solid blocks of sound with no peaks or valleys. The trade-off, of course, is what we call listener fatigue. When an entire album is relentlessly loud with no quiet parts, it's just exhausting. So engineers started adding back warmth and color with EQ and saturation to make those crushed mixes sound more alive. That's why modern waveforms tend to look like rectangles, yet still feel exciting. Then came streaming. You'd think that platforms like Spotify and Apple would have ended the Loudness Wars. They use something called LUFS, which is just measuring how loud music feels on average instead of just the tallest peaks. If peaks are like the tallest waves in the ocean, LUFS is like measuring the average wave height over time. So streaming platforms pick a target, usually around -14 LUFS, and they turn everything up or down to match that. And in theory, that should have ended the Loudness War. With everything normalized like that, it kind of is supposed to remove the commercial incentive for getting louder than everybody else. But it didn't, because here's the catch. 2 songs set to -4 LUFS are not going to feel the same. A dense smashed mix still comes across as more powerful and aggressive than an open dynamic mix, even when they measure identically. A good friend of mine, a top-tier mastering engineer, put it perfectly. We still smash it to hell regardless of normalization because the dense process master still feels louder and more powerful even when leveled down. A crushed mix turned down to -14 LUFS will feel totally different from a dynamic mix turned up to -14 LUFS. The power just isn't the same, and that creates a vicious cycle for mixers. My partner at URM Academy, Joel Wanasek, put it perfectly.
I think one of the most frustrating things about being a mixer is you're constantly being pushed to turn in things at an insane level. So for example, if you do a test mix and there's 4 other people that you're up against, if you were to turn yours in at like -6 and everybody else turns theirs in at like -4.5, people are going to be like, oh, why does yours sound weak? Because the people judging obviously aren't going to sit there and turn up the knob. It kind of creates a self-perpetuating cycle where I feel like we've gotten to the point where loudness has just kind of got ridiculous, and even people like me who like to push the limits generally are like, hey, maybe we should bring it down a little bit, or I'll agree to, because I don't know, it's just crazy.
He's 100% right. And on top of that, you can just go into Spotify's normalization settings and turn them off. And if you do that, you'll hear just how loud everything actually is. The war isn't over, it's just shifted battlefields. So how do you compete? How do you get your tracks insanely loud without completely destroying them? It all starts with the mix. Mastering can polish what's already there, but it can't rewrite a mix's dynamics, balance, or tone. Hand over a chaotic mix and the limiter will just distort, pump, or kill the punch. You have to preserve the microdynamics, those little bursts of life and impact in your mix, like the crack of the snare or the attack of a pick, while still controlling everything tightly enough that you can push the volume. That's the balance. First, control the low end. Bass and subs take up an enormous amount of energy. If you don't tame them, the limiter is going to clamp down on them before the rest of the mix even gets going. Check out these examples of a mix with controlled versus uncontrolled subs. Check out what it does to the headroom. Here's normal. Blown out subs. Notice how much harder the drums hit in the controlled version. Think of your low end like puzzle pieces. Kick, bass, guitars, they all need their own space in the mix so that they don't pile on top of each other. Next, smooth out the dynamics. If your track's volume is all over the place, your limiter is going to be working too hard on just a few really loud moments as opposed to the entire mix, and it won't be transparent. This is where volume automation is your best friend. Ride the faders on your vocals, your guitars, whatever needs it. Use bus compression to gently tame the peaks of your drum kit or your guitar group, gluing them together. Even using parallel compression can add body and consistency without killing your transients. Keep in mind, and this is important, some tracks don't take well to extreme loudness because they're too dynamic. If maximum volume is your goal, you need to pack your tracks in densely. Controlling low end with compression and volume automation keeps your headroom free. Keeping low end chugs on guitars and boom on floor toms under control, make sure that you don't get clipping in random parts of the song. Here's what a song that is very dynamic sounds like pushed too loud. It totally destroys the mix. And for this example, I've got Osiris by Opeth. So we have one version that's the original as they released it, and then I'm using this plugin Metric AB to AB it with a version that's completely smashed. So we just ran it through a limiter and smashed the fuck out of it, trying to get it louder. Just so you can hear the difference between them, I actually turned down the louder one so that they're level matched. And what I want you to listen to is the difference between the dynamics of the kicks, especially. Listen to how much punchier the drums are in the dynamic version versus the smash version. So here's the regular version. Smashed. So those settings that would work for a different type of music just will not work for a band like Opeth. So you need to use your discretion and your ears at all times. Third, balance your frequencies. When you make a track louder, everything gets exaggerated, especially the harsh frequencies. This leads to a key technique that's popular right now in modern rock and metal. Producers like Zach Cervini and Carl Baum are crafting these really dark, smoothed out, non-harsh mixes. Check out how nice and smooth this Wage War mix is. It's like butter. The reason is simple. Piercing high end is the first thing that turns to garbage when you push a limiter that hard. By creating a darker, warmer mix, you're essentially removing the frequencies that would distort first. This gives you way more room to push the overall levels into extreme territory. We're talking masters hitting -5 or even -4.5 LUFS without sounding like a total mess. This doesn't mean that your mix should be dull, but it does reinforce a philosophy I've always had. All your audio decisions should be context appropriate. The ultimate goal is a balanced mix that will ensure that the limiter can work evenly across the whole spectrum. Fourth, control your transients. Those sharp peaks, like the crack of a snare or a really loud floor tom, will trigger your limiter first. Soften them slightly with the transient shaper or clipper so you can raise the whole mix higher without killing the punch. Check out the same mix from our first example, but with really loud dynamic drums. Check out what happens, especially on the floor tom fill. Did you hear that? Imagine that on your car stereo. That is just fart city. Gotta keep that shit in check. And finally, carve out space for everything. Use EQ and panning so instruments aren't all fighting for the same spot. When every part has its sonic home, the whole mix can breathe, even when it's loud. Remember, if your guitars are burying your kick drums in mud, they're fighting for headroom. Basic mix hygiene can be the difference between a loud, clean master and a distorted mess. So how do you feel about the loudness wars? And are there any techniques that you use to help get your masters louder? Let us know in the comments. And as always, like, share, subscribe. See you next time.